this is in no way a real how-to video. This is more just showing you with some basic tools you can do it yourself and save a lot of money and put that money somewhere else. One of the most expensive things that you usually don't do yourself is your gears. Now, so I've set up gears before, but when I started with the front, I never set up used gears, and that definitely was a mind torture afterwards. I was second guessing everything I was doing, and with some back and forth with my buddy Steve, we figured out the problem. The problem was it was broken at 15 thousandths, and it was in a race truck, so that makes sense. You have a lot of heat. The heat, when it expands, tightens everything up. Well, and in rock crawling, I always set them tight, and I could not, no matter how much shims, how many shims, how Lisa shims, it didn't matter. Could not figure out what was wrong with it. Once we figured out that 15 thousandths is where it broke in at, then basically you set it where you want it. If it's good at 15 thousandths with your pinion shims and all that, when you set it with the right backlash, if you don't beat the hell out of it and give it time to break in, it will re-break in to a good pattern. So that was a real trick part of doing this. The rear went relatively more easy once I had the confidence. This is all about confidence. Just take your time. I don't have a bunch of crazy tools. 4 9-inches are probably one of the easiest besides 14 bolts to do. The only downside is the shims that comes with doesn't really give you all the shims you could use. So I ran into that problem, but everything turned out great, and I'll post some pictures now of what the rear was doing. And at the end of the video, I will do a once over of the updates on the Buggy. And if you find this useful, please hit that subscribe. Please hit that share button, and comment below what kind of axle you're running. This is an old inner race from the Baron. You cut it apart and you make a press piece. That's the easiest way. So this is the front. This is my old gear on the left, my new one on the right. I'm gonna write down what my original shims were, since this is the crush sleeve eliminator, and I want to find out what it was at, and that will give me a starting point. Another word of advice is, when you do this, take your old pinion bearing, and if you could tell, I reamed it out so it will slide on and slide off. It should be a little bit looser. So this is your crush sleeve eliminator. Normally a crush sleeve, I'll put a picture of one here. You torque it down, and some people put it in a press to preload it, and that's how you set your pinion bearing preload, with one of these. I was just messing with, the caps weren't sitting flush, so I just cleaned them out some more. That's one thing you want to always make sure your caps are sitting flush on the surface. And this is the spanner wrench. I didn't just get it first try. It took a lot, and instead of boring you on a time lapse or letting you think that I'm some kind of diff wizard, I just put a little bit of what I was doing to show you it takes some time to get it exact. So I swapped out the setup bearing, new setup bearing, or the new bearings in there, and I was always taught to put a little bit of RTV just to help the seal grab, because when I worked in the transmission shop, it was explained not all castings are equal, so this helps it seal. And then what I'll do is I'll press the yoke on once I get RTV off my fingers. Silicone grease, and I actually need to order some more because it's getting low, but I put this all over the seal for the yoke, and then I actually have to grind this yoke, but I'll put some on there. I'll see you at the press. And just like that, it's all pressed. So, back to putting it back together. There's that. And now reassembly. So I ended up using the bigger shims like this one. This is what they come with, and this came with my 35 spline bearing support, so that's what I ended up using, and I'm really happy with that. And now just tighten everything down. So I got all the inner axle seals done. These are double sealed. I have to replace the outer seals yet, and like in last video, the front's painted, but now the tube's all cleaned. The diff is all cleaned out. If you see that scar, that's from one time I blew up a set of gears in the front. The hood, I've got to figure out, focus. There we go. I've got to figure out the paint. I got to sand it back down. If you can tell, there was a couple mess ups, but what else did we do? Oh, I used 7/16 carriage bolts. I still got to tighten this one and this one a little bit more, but that way it will be flush, and if I ever have to take it out, I'll just cut those off. The gussets done in the rear there. Did some cap bolts. Don't want to bend 5/8 bolts, and I can't go any bigger. This was single shear and I was bending bolts, but I'm going to replace all my steering bolts with cap bolts. This is metric. This is 16 mil, which comes out to basically the same as 5/8. It was super tight going in, and I built a gusset for it, and that should help. And then here and there, I basically did quarter wall, and that way these ears don't bend down anymore. I tried to straighten Trump out the best I could, and I still have to do the other side, and fixed some cracked welds I had over there. That was a little frightening, and welding by the gas tank, but that got all done. And got to put the dash back together yet, but don't know if I showed this. This is the new suck down tab, so hopefully that's a better design than last time. And yeah, so got the front end all back together with the lights. I just got to tidy up the wiring. I know on camera the shocks look like they're straight up and down. They are leaned in about almost 79, 78 degrees, I think. So we'll see once we set it back down how it all settles out, but that's the update. And once we get the gears in, put the Brannock shafts in, fill it with fluid, get my new drive shafts from JE Reel, which will connect to the Yukon dropout, and just tidy up a couple other things. I've already made my side panels, so those are all done, and got the new oil pan on, and the skid is almost done. I'll walk over here. So this is AR plate. I still got to grind it more, but basically I just did this to show. The tubes are going to weld in the center. It's going to bend there up, and then these will get, this is quarter wall 1-inch flat bar. They will get welded to the outside, or to the tube to the outside. And then these here, this is a bent piece of metal that basically was in their short pile. I guess they made a boo-boo or something, but if I weld it like that, that will give it some nice strength and it will look better. So yeah, the skid plate's gonna be real heavy, but I don't want this one to rip back off. It didn't break the bolts. It kept on ripping off the motor mounts, and like I showed in the last video, the motor mounts are bomb proof now. Those things aren't going to go anywhere. The new oil pan's on, so I've got some gussets for the bottom. Going to gusset this tube, going to gusset it up there too, and I'm pretty confident this ain't going to go nowhere, but we'll see. Yeah, so that's the update on the Buggy, and we'll catch you next weekend.